Kelvin and James, we'll start with this one, which is obviously we saw come out yesterday that the EFL, mainly with Leagues 1 and 2, and the PFA saying clubs have the option to defer players' wages by up to a quarter. What's your view on that? Is that something you'd be interested in doing or not? I'll start with you, Kelvin.
Yeah, sure. I think there's been quite a lot of discussion about players' wages and the responsibility that players have in this situation. From our perspective as a club, we aren't, as well as staff, we're not going to ask the players for any deferrals or cuts right now. We're going to actually we're going to pay people 100%, and especially through April. And then we've told everybody that we're going to review it as things happen. This is a very fluid situation, moving all the time, so we're going to review it as it happens. But at the moment, we're committed to paying people 100%.
And you mentioned it there. It's obviously a situation which is constantly under review. How are things looking from your side in being able to afford the wages and then the financials of the club as well?
Well, we're in a decent place. We're not going to say that everything's fine, but we're working hard behind the scenes to try and ensure that we can get through this. There's been a lot of government help. EFL and the Premier League have talked to, EFL have advanced monies that for next year, and the Premier League are talking about that, and the Premier League and the EFL are talking about that. So there has been help that way. So any short-term immediate cash flow issues, and we're you might not always see it, we're a well-run club that tries to do the right thing. So and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make sure that our staff and our players are highly important to the club, the backbone of the club, and we're going to try and make sure that we can all see through this together. Listen, there may be some further conversations down the road, but I think the players and the staff would all understand that if there is a more serious impact on incomes and finances, that we all might have to share in some of that pain. But at the moment, we're very much sort of moving forward with ensuring that we pay people. And listen, our players are certainly not on not on Premiership money, so it's very difficult to talk with them in the same sort of scope as the Premier League players, and people will be surprised that of the levels that our players are on, or League Two players are on in general. They're probably not that far off what most people are on anyway. So and a lot of people live paycheck to paycheck. So I think as a club we have to take some responsibility for sure, in this, and that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, that's the point, isn't it? I suppose that people see footballers and wages put together in a sentence, and they think from Premier League to League Two, they're all on kind of blanket numerous amounts of money, but it's not the case. And what you're saying there about League Two footballers especially, that they're not on millions of pounds, they're not on hundreds of thousands of pounds. They're on pretty normal wages, if you could say it like that.
In relative terms, yeah, there's certainly I would certainly say that they are, and they've got responsibilities on the other side. So listen, we'll as long as we can continue doing what we're doing, then we will do in terms of 100%. And this is what I've spoken to both the staff and the players in the last 24 hours on Zoom, and that's what we'll continue to do. Our commitment is that, and we'll review it, each month really. As we'll obviously be reviewing it internally probably every day when we get information, but and just hope that we can start, when it's safe to do so, we can get back out and play football.
Moving on the pitch, the $1 million question that you've answered time and time again. You probably don't have a definitive answer, but any inkling at all between conversations between yourself and the EFL and other officials about potentially when we could see anything back on the pitch?
Well, there's been quite a lot of media speculation. I know the EFL have been doing, I think their main focus right now, they've been doing a tremendous amount of work on what could happen. I think, as a lot of people have said, the virus itself will dictate exactly what's going to happen. But I think the EFL talks about needing 56 days to complete the season. I know there's been like an early June start date, been muted around in the media. And you would be hopeful that we could get to that point. There's so many moving parts to that conversation anyway, in terms of contracts, in terms of players' fitness, in terms of players' mental health, in terms of how many games you play in that period of time, etc., etc. And obviously the other big question is whether fans will be permitted in the stadium, and that's going to have an impact on clubs. That's going to have an impact on finances, because from a financial perspective, that's probably the worst case, because you have all the costs, but you don't have the income. Some of that will be mitigated, I think, with streaming, iFollow, and you would expect the season ticket holders will be able to watch the games online for free, and there'll be a charge for non-season ticket holders, but that would only mitigate some of that lost income. That would still create some challenges within football clubs.
And that's. Can you foresee a situation where it gets to the point where, in order to finish the season, the EFL almost force the recommencement of the season in a way that the games have to be played behind closed doors, and all the players are tested, and those games are kind of made to happen?
Yeah, I think I would be, if I was pushed on it, I would probably be swayed to say that the games would probably be behind closed doors to begin with. I think that's quite a general consensus that it's starting to move in that direction. The longer it goes on, the restrictions, I think it's very, very difficult to get from having to be 6 feet apart to suddenly say that it's okay for 8,000 people to go and watch a football match on a Saturday afternoon. I think that's quite a big jump, and there's a few steps to go through. I'm just not sure if you're going to be able to go through those steps by June or even July. I'm not sure. None of us have ever seen this, so we really don't know. So I think there's three options, obviously, to restart the season and fans can go in the ground. You play behind closed doors, or you null and void the season. So they're all not perfect situations, and we would always prefer, for the integrity of all the competitions, we would always prefer that the season finishes.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on to something more positive, let's talk a bit more about the community work that the club has been doing with yourself and the players, the management, phoning fans who might be struggling at home, obviously stuck in isolation, the video messages from the players as well. So important, bringing happiness to so many as well at the minute.
Yeah, I think it's certainly an area of this situation that I'm incredibly proud of, and the way that the club and the players and the staff and everyone involved in the community have really stepped up and are really impacting people's lives in a positive way at a very tough time. I think having taken part in a bunch of these calls myself with players and by myself, it's been a humbling experience in some way. It's been an uplifting experience in the sense of you've been able to bring a positive to people, and it's just nice. And I think we've all experienced it in a way where you probably called somebody that you haven't spoken to for a while, or just to check in on family members or friends, and I think everyone gets the positive from that. But I think when it's a Keith Curl, or it's a Charlie Good, or it's a Nicky Adams that are calling, I think that really has an impact on young and old. I know we've spoken to birthday kids, and we've also spoken to the 92-year-old who's in isolation. So I think it's a really positive. We're having a really positive impact, and I'm very, very proud of all the hard work that everyone's doing in Gareth especially coordinated with Phil, the community. I think it's a very positive part of what's going on.
Yeah, and it sounds like a cliche, but everyone talks about kind of the football family, and it is more than what just happens on the pitch at 3 o'clock on a Saturday, and this kind of reinforces that, doesn't it?
Oh, 100%, yeah, absolutely. And as you know, we're very proud of our community work in general, and we've talked about that quite a bit over the last few years, and how and what we do, and the work that goes on there, and how we impact so many people's lives. And this is just to highlight it, and this just showcases it a little bit in terms of, because we've seen the stuff on social media, and you're experiencing it yourself, and you really see the impact that we can have, and the lives that we can touch in tough times, because these are tough times, and the reality is, and I think, as I said to Gareth the other day, I think we're going to probably almost have to repeat all these phone calls, because we're going to be in 4 or 5 weeks, and then soon 6 weeks of isolation, and whilst there's a cycle to these things, and people, you kind of go through the first week, it's kind of almost fun. The second week, third week you start getting touchy and bored, and then by week 6, so those people might need some more support in those times as well. So yeah, really positive, and it does highlight the fact that the club is a real community club.